She walked in on her fiancé with her mother a night before their wedding. The hotel room door swung open with a soft click. Emma stood frozen in the doorway, her hands still on the handle, her mouth open in a silent scream. There, on the king-size bed with the white silk sheets, the bed that was supposed to be for her honeymoon tomorrow, was her fiancé Michael. And he wasn't alone. Her mother, Patricia, was with him. Their clothes were scattered across the floor like broken promises. The champagne bottle Emma had sent up earlier as a surprise gift sat empty on the nightstand, mocking her. For 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The world stopped spinning. Then Michael saw her. His blue eyes went wide with horror. Emma, this isn't. Emma's legs turned to water. The beautiful white shopping bag she'd been holding, the one with Michael's special wedding gift inside, slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a soft thud. Inside was a watch she'd saved 6 months to buy. A watch engraved with, "Forever yours." Forever. What a joke. Her mother sat up quickly, pulling the sheet around herself. Her face wasn't full of shame or guilt like it should have been. Instead, Patricia looked annoyed, like Emma had interrupted something important. "Emma, you weren't supposed to come here tonight," Patricia said calmly. Too calmly. Like this was a normal conversation about dinner plans, not the complete destruction of Emma's life. Emma tried to speak. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her throat had closed up. Her chest felt like someone was sitting on it. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't understand what she was seeing. "Emma, baby, please," Michael started, climbing out of the bed and reaching for his pants. "Let me explain." Explain. Emma finally found her voice. Came out as a whisper, then grew louder. "Explain? You want to explain why you're in bed with my mother the night before our wedding?" Tears started pouring down Emma's face. Not gentle tears. Angry tears. Betrayed tears. The kind of tears that burn your eyes and make your whole body shake. "How long?" Emma asked, her voice breaking. "How long has this been going on?" Michael and Patricia looked at each other. That look told Emma everything. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was something that had been happening for a while. 3 months, Patricia finally said. Lighting a cigarette like this was normal. Like she hadn't just destroyed her own daughter's life. 3 months. Emma did the math in her head. 3 months ago was when Michael had suggested Patricia help with the wedding planning. When he'd said it would be nice for Emma's mom to feel included. When the 3 of them had started spending so much time together. Emma felt like she might throw up. All those wedding planning meetings. All those times Michael said he was helping Patricia pick up decorations or discussing the seating chart with her. They weren't planning a wedding. They were planning this betrayal. "I need to go," Emma whispered, backing toward the door. "Emma, wait." Michael started toward her, still buttoning his pants. "We need to talk about this." "Talk?" Emma's voice rose to a scream. "Talk? What is there to talk about, Michael? You slept with my mother." Before we continue with what Emma does next, hit that subscribe button right now and tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from? New York? London? Lagos? Tokyo? Let us know. This story is about to get even more shocking, and you won't want to miss what happens next. 6 months earlier, when everything seemed perfect. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when Emma thought she was the luckiest girl in the world. Emma Carter was 25 years old and worked as a teacher at Lincoln Elementary School. She loved her job even though it didn't pay much. Every day, she taught second graders how to read and write and do math. The kids loved her because she was patient and kind and always had a smile on her face. Emma lived in a small apartment in the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. She'd painted the walls light blue and filled it with plants and books. Her cat, Whiskers, kept her company. Emma's life was simple and quiet, until she met Michael. Michael Thompson was everything Emma had dreamed of in a partner. He was 28 years old, tall and handsome, with dark hair and blue eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He worked as a real estate agent and was really good at his job. He made enough money to afford a nice car and a fancy apartment downtown. They met at a coffee shop 6 months ago. Emma had been grading papers, and Michael had been on his laptop working on a presentation. When the barista called out Emma's order wrong, Michael had joked about it, and they'd started talking. 3 hours later, they were still talking, and Emma knew she'd met someone special. Michael was charming. He remembered little things Emma told him. He brought her flowers for no reason. He made her laugh when she was stressed about work. He told her she was beautiful even when she wore her old sweatpants and had her hair in a messy bun. After 3 months of dating, Michael took Emma to the beach at sunset and got down on one knee. The ring wasn't huge, but it was perfect. Emma said yes before he even finished asking the question. "I'm going to make you so happy," Michael had promised, sliding the ring onto her finger. "I'm going to be the best husband in the world." Emma had believed him. Why wouldn't she? He'd been perfect. Planning the wedding had been exciting at first. Emma and Michael looked at venues and tasted cakes and picked out flowers. They argued playfully about whether to have a band or a DJ. They laughed about their terrible dancing skills and promised to take lessons before the big day. But Emma's mother, Patricia, wasn't excited about the wedding. She'd been divorced from Emma's father for 10 years, and she'd become bitter about love and marriage. "Marriage is a trap," Patricia would say whenever Emma talked about the wedding. "Men always leave eventually. You're making a mistake." Emma tried not to let her mother's negativity bother her. Patricia had always been difficult. Growing up, Emma had learned that her mother's moods changed like the weather. One day Patricia would be fun and loving. The next day she'd be cold and critical. "She's just jealous because she's alone," Emma's best friend Jessica had said. "Don't let her ruin your happiness." But Emma felt bad for her mother. Patricia was only 48 years old. Still young and beautiful, with blonde hair and green eyes that Emma had inherited. But she was lonely. She worked as a real estate agent, the same job as Michael, which was how they'd met at a company networking event, and went home to an empty house every night. So when Michael suggested that Patricia help with the wedding planning, Emma thought it was sweet. Maybe it would help her mother feel included. Maybe it would bring them closer together as a family. "Your mom seems really lonely," Michael had said 3 months ago. "Let's make her part of the planning. It might cheer her up." Emma had hugged him, thinking how lucky she was to have such a thoughtful fiancé. That was her first mistake. The warning signs Emma missed. Looking back now, standing in that hotel room with her world crumbling around her, Emma realized there had been signs. Small things she'd ignored or explained away, like how Patricia had started dressing differently. She'd always been stylish, but suddenly she was wearing tighter dresses, more makeup, younger clothes. Emma had thought her mother was just trying to feel good about herself after the divorce. Or how Michael's phone had started buzzing late at night with text messages he'd quickly hide. "Just work stuff," he'd say, turning the phone face down. Emma had trusted him, so she hadn't questioned it. Or the way Patricia and Michael would sometimes share private jokes during wedding planning meetings. They'd laugh at something, and when Emma asked what was funny, they'd say nothing or "you had to be there." Emma had felt left out, but she'd told herself she was being silly. There was that one time 2 weeks ago when Emma had come home early from work because she wasn't feeling well. She'd texted Michael to let him know, but he hadn't responded. Later, he'd said his phone had died and he'd been helping Patricia move some furniture. When Emma had called her mother to thank her for accepting Michael's help, Patricia had seemed confused for a moment before saying, "Oh yes, the furniture. He was very helpful." And last week, at the final wedding dress fitting, Emma had overheard her mother on the phone in the bathroom. Patricia had been whispering, "I can't wait either. Just a few more days, and then Emma will be gone on her honeymoon. We'll have 2 whole weeks." At the time, Emma had thought her mother was talking to a friend about vacation plans. Now she realized the truth. Patricia had been talking to Michael. They'd been planning to spend Emma's honeymoon together while she was away. The betrayal was so deep, so complete, that Emma felt like she couldn't breathe. The confrontation continues. Back in the hotel room, Emma was still standing by the door, shaking. Michael had finished getting dressed and was walking toward her slowly, like she was a scared animal that might run. "Emma, I know this looks bad, he said. Looks bad. Emma's voice was getting higher. Looks bad? Michael, you were in bed with my mother. I never meant for this to happen, Michael continued. Your mom and I, we connected. We have so much in common. We both work in real estate. We both love the same movies. You both betrayed me, Emma finished. That's what you have in common. You both betrayed the person who loved you most in the world. Patricia stood up now, still wrapped in the sheet. She walked to where she'd dropped her dress and started getting dressed, acting like this was all perfectly normal. Emma, you need to understand something, Patricia said, her voice sharp. Michael and I didn't plan for this to happen. We fell in love. Real love. Not the silly fairy tale love you think you have. We're adults. We're compatible. We actually understand each other. He was my fiancé. Emma screamed. My fiancé. I'm your daughter. How could you do this to me? Oh, don't be so dramatic, Patricia said, rolling her eyes. Actually rolling her eyes, like Emma was overreacting. You're young. You'll find someone else. Michael and I are meant to be together. I realized it months ago. Emma felt like she'd been slapped. Her own mother was acting like Emma's feelings didn't matter. Like her broken heart was just an inconvenience. I'm your daughter, Emma repeated, her voice smaller now, broken. I'm your daughter, and you did this to me. For just a moment, just one brief moment, Patricia's face softened. Something that might have been guilt or shame flashed in her green eyes. But then it was gone, replaced by that cold, hard look Emma had seen so many times growing up. You'll thank me someday, Patricia said, zipping up her dress. I saved you from a bad marriage. Michael and I are better suited for each other. It's better you found out now than after the wedding. Michael reached for Emma's hand. Emma, please, we can talk about this. We can figure something out. Maybe we can. Don't touch me, Emma said, jerking her hand away. Don't ever touch me again. She looked at both of them. The man she'd loved, the mother who'd raised her, and felt nothing but disgust and heartbreak. Tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, Emma said quietly. I was going to wear a white dress and walk down the aisle to marry the man I loved. My mother was supposed to be there, crying happy tears, proud of me. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. It was bitter and painful. Instead, I find out that my fiancé and my mother have been sleeping together for 3 months. 3 months. While I was picking out flowers and addressing invitations and being excited about starting my life with you. She looked at Michael. While I was calling my mom every day to talk about how happy I was. She looked at Patricia. I trusted you, Emma whispered. Both of you. And you destroyed me. Michael opened his mouth to say something, but Emma held up her hand. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your excuses or your explanations or your apologies. Nothing you say will ever make this okay. The decision. Emma stood there for a moment thinking. Her mind was racing. Tomorrow was supposed to be her wedding day. 300 guests were invited. The venue was paid for. The flowers were ordered. The photographer was booked. Her dress was hanging in her apartment closet, waiting for her. And Michael, the groom, had just destroyed everything. But as Emma stood there, something changed inside her. The tears stopped. The shaking stopped. The pain was still there, crushing her chest, but underneath it, something else was growing. Anger. Not the screaming, crying kind of anger. Something colder. Something harder. Something that made her spine straighten and her jaw set. Here's what's going to happen, Emma said, her voice suddenly calm. Too calm. Tomorrow, there's still going to be a wedding. Michael's face lit up with hope. You mean? No, Emma cut him off. I don't mean we're still getting married. I mean I'm still going to have my wedding day. Just not the way anyone expected. Patricia frowned. What are you talking about? Emma smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who just had a very interesting idea. You wanted Michael? Emma said to her mother. You can have him, but first you're both going to show up at that wedding tomorrow. You're both going to be there in your seats when I walk down that aisle. Emma, that's crazy, Michael said. What are you planning? You'll find out tomorrow, Emma said. And if either of you don't show up, I'm going to make sure everyone, and I mean everyone, knows exactly what you did. I'll post it on social media. I'll tell all our friends. I'll make sure your real estate company knows that their star agent sleeps with his clients' daughters. I'll make sure every person in this city knows what kind of people you are. Patricia's face went pale. Her job was important to her. Her reputation was everything. You wouldn't, Patricia said. Try me, Emma replied. You both destroyed my life tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to take back my power. So you have a choice. Show up at that wedding and face what you've done, or hide like cowards and have everyone find out anyway. Either way, the truth is coming out. Michael stepped forward. Emma, please, let's just talk about this. Let's be adults. Be adults. Emma laughed that bitter laugh again. Adults don't sleep with their fiancé's mother. Adults don't betray their own daughter. So don't talk to me about being adults. You lost that right. She turned and walked toward the door. Her legs were shaky, but she kept moving. She had to get out of this room before she broke down completely. Emma, wait! Michael called after her. But Emma was already gone, walking down the fancy hotel hallway, past the gold-framed mirrors and expensive paintings. She made it to the elevator, made it to the lobby, made it outside into the cool night air. And then she ran. The night of planning. Emma ran down the city streets, not caring where she was going. The night was dark and cold, and she was wearing just a light jacket and jeans. Her phone kept buzzing in her pocket. Texts from Michael, calls from Patricia, but she ignored them all. Finally, she found herself at Jessica's apartment building. Jessica was her best friend, the one person she could count on. Emma buzzed the intercom frantically. Hello? Jessica's voice came through, sleepy and confused. Jess, it's me. I need you. Please. The door buzzed open immediately. Jessica knew. Just from Emma's voice, she knew something terrible had happened. Emma climbed the 3 flights of stairs to Jessica's apartment. The door was already open, and Jessica stood there in her pajamas, her dark hair messy from sleep, her face worried. Emma? What's wrong? It's midnight. Shouldn't you be? Emma walked into the apartment and collapsed on the couch. Then she told Jessica everything. About walking in on Michael and Patricia. About the 3 months of betrayal. About how tomorrow was supposed to be her wedding day. Jessica listened, her mouth open in shock, her eyes filling with angry tears on Emma's behalf. When Emma finished talking, Jessica sat down heavily on the couch next to her. Those monsters, Jessica whispered. Those absolute monsters. Your own mother? Emma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They sat together, crying, until Emma finally ran out of tears. Then Jessica made tea, and they sat in her small living room, and Emma told her about the plan. I threatened them, Emma said. I told them they have to show up at the wedding tomorrow or I'll expose them to everyone. I'm going to use that wedding for something. I don't know what yet, but I'm not going to just let them win. I'm not going to just cancel everything and run away and hide. Jessica looked at her friend with new respect. Emma, that's actually brilliant. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, Emma admitted. But I have until tomorrow at 4 p.m. to figure it out. And I'm going to need your help. Anything, Jessica said immediately. Anything you need. I'm with you. They stayed up all night, drinking tea and talking and planning. Emma's phone kept buzzing with messages from Michael and Patricia, but she never answered. Let them worry. Let them wonder what she was planning. By the time the sun started rising over the city, painting the sky pink and orange, Emma had a plan. It was crazy. It was bold. It was probably going to make a lot of people angry, but it was going to be perfect. The morning of the wedding, Emma woke up on Jessica's couch at 9 a.m. For just a moment, when her eyes first opened, she'd forgotten. Then it all came rushing back. The hotel room, Michael and Patricia, the betrayal, and her stomach twisted into knots. Today was her wedding day. Her phone had 73 text messages and 42 missed calls. She didn't read any of them, Jessica made breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, but Emma could barely eat. Her throat felt closed up. Her hands shook every time she tried to pick up her fork. "You don't have to do this," Jessica said gently. "We can call everyone right now. Cancel the wedding. You can stay here with me for a few days. We can watch movies and eat ice cream and—" "No," Emma said firmly. "No running away. No hiding. I'm doing this." At 11 a.m., Emma went back to her apartment. She half expected Michael to be there, waiting for her, but the place was empty. She showered and washed her hair, moving like a robot, not really thinking about what she was doing. At noon, her makeup artist arrived. Emma had booked her months ago to do her wedding makeup. The woman, whose name was Sandra, chatted happily about how excited she must be. What a beautiful day it was. How lovely the wedding would be. Emma said nothing. She just sat in the chair and let Sandra paint her face. Foundation, eyeshadow, lipstick, transforming her into a bride. At 2 p.m., Emma's cousin arrived to help her into her dress. The dress was beautiful. White lace with a long train, delicate beading on the bodice, a sweetheart neckline. Emma had tried it on 5 times during fittings, each time feeling like a princess. Now, as her cousin zipped up the back and adjusted the veil, Emma felt nothing. She looked at herself in the mirror. She looked beautiful. She looked like a perfect bride. But inside, she was broken into a million pieces. "You look amazing," her cousin said, tears in her eyes. "Michael is going to cry when he sees you." Emma almost laughed. Yes, Michael was probably going to cry, but not for the reasons her cousin thought. At 3 p.m., Jessica came to pick her up. Jessica was wearing her bridesmaid dress, a soft pink color that Emma had picked out months ago. She looked beautiful. "Are you ready?" Jessica asked. Emma looked at herself one more time in the mirror. The bride looking back at her was calm, composed, and determined. "Yes," Emma said. "Let's go." They drove to the venue, a beautiful garden with white flowers and an archway where Emma was supposed to marry Michael. Emma's stomach was doing flips, but her face stayed calm. When they arrived, guests were already seated. 300 people, all dressed in their best clothes, waiting for a wedding. Emma could see Michael standing at the altar, looking nervous in his dark suit. She could see her mother, Patricia, sitting in the front row, wearing an elegant blue dress, looking like the perfect mother of the bride. They were both there. They'd both shown up, probably thinking Emma would just go through with the wedding like nothing had happened. Probably thinking she'd been bluffing with her threats last night. They were about to find out just how serious Emma had been. The moment of truth. The music started playing. The wedding march. The song that was supposed to accompany Emma's happiest moment. Emma stood at the entrance to the garden, holding a bouquet of white roses. Everyone turned to look at her. 300 faces, all smiling, all excited to see the bride. Emma walked down the aisle slowly, step by step. Her legs felt like they might give out, but she kept going. She looked straight ahead at Michael, who was standing at the altar, his face pale but hopeful. She walked past her mother, who had tears in her eyes. Fake tears, Emma knew now. Patricia was a good actress. Finally, Emma reached the altar. Michael reached for her hands, but Emma pulled back. "Not yet," she said quietly. The officiant, a kind older man named Pastor James, smiled at the guests. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." "Actually," Emma interrupted, her voice carrying across the quiet garden. "Before we begin, I have something to say." Pastor James looked confused. Usually the vows come later in the ceremony." "This isn't a vow," Emma said. She turned to face the crowd of 300 people. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. But her voice, when she spoke, was clear and strong. "Thank you all for coming today. I know you're expecting a wedding, but there's not going to be a wedding, because last night, I found my fiancé in bed with my mother." A collective gasp went through the crowd. People started whispering. Michael's face went completely white. Patricia stood up, her mouth open in shock. "Emma, don't do this," Michael said urgently, reaching for her. But Emma stepped away from him. She was just getting started. "I want to tell you all a story," Emma continued, her voice getting stronger. "I want to tell you about a girl who thought she'd found true love. What happens next will shock you even more. Subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Drop a comment. Do you think Emma made the right choice? What would you do in her situation? Chapter 2 is coming, and trust me, you won't believe what Emma reveals to the entire wedding. Emma stood at the altar in her beautiful white wedding dress, facing 300 shocked guests. Her mother Patricia was standing up in the front row, her face pale and horrified. Michael was beside Emma, trying to grab her arm, but she stepped away from him. "Emma, please," Michael whispered urgently. "Don't do this. We can talk privately." "No," Emma said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "We're done talking privately. These people came here thinking they were going to see a wedding. They took time out of their lives, bought gifts, got dressed up, and drove here. They deserve to know the truth." Pastor James looked completely confused. "Emma, perhaps we should." "Pastor James, I'm sorry you got caught up in this," Emma said. "But please, just let me speak." She turned back to face the crowd. She could see her cousin in the third row, mouth hanging open in shock. She could see Michael's parents in the second row, looking at their son with horror beginning to dawn on their faces. She could see her friends from work, her students' parents, her neighbors, all staring at her with wide eyes. "6 months ago," Emma began, her voice carrying across the silent garden, "I met a man at a coffee shop. His name is Michael Thompson." She gestured to Michael, who was standing frozen beside her. "He was charming, funny, and sweet. He made me laugh. He brought me flowers. He told me I was beautiful. After 3 months, he proposed to me, and I said yes because I thought I'd found my soulmate." Emma's voice cracked a little, but she kept going. "I trusted him completely. I never checked his phone. I never questioned where he was or who he was with, because that's what love is supposed to be, right? Trust, faith, believing in someone." Patricia started walking toward the aisle, trying to leave, but Jessica, Emma's bridesmaid, stepped in front of her, blocking her path. "Sit down," Jessica said firmly. "You're going to listen to what your daughter has to say." Patricia sat back down, her face red with anger and embarrassment. 3 months ago," Emma continued, "Michael suggested that my mother help with the wedding planning. He said it would be nice to include her, to make her feel part of things. I thought it was such a sweet idea. I thought he was being thoughtful." She laughed bitterly. "I was so stupid." "You weren't stupid," someone called out from the crowd. Emma looked and saw it was her friend Rachel from work. "He's the one who's wrong, not you." Other people nodded. Emma felt a tiny bit of warmth in her chest. These people were on her side. "For 3 months," Emma said, her voice getting stronger, "while I was addressing wedding invitations and picking out flowers and tasting cakes and being excited about marrying this man," she pointed at Michael, "he was sleeping with my mother." Another gasp went through the crowd. Someone said, "Oh my God," very loudly. Michael's mother started crying. "Last night," Emma continued, "I went to the hotel where Michael was staying. I wanted to surprise him with a gift. A watch I'd saved 6 months to buy. A watch engraved with, 'Forever Yours.' When I opened the door to his room, I found him in bed with my mother. Patricia Carter, the woman who gave birth to me, raised me, and was supposed to love me more than anyone in the world." Emma looked directly at her mother. Patricia's face was a mix of anger, shame, and defiance. "They'd been having an affair for 3 months, Emma said. 3 months of lying to my face. 3 months of betraying me in the worst way possible. And you know what my mother said when I caught them?" Emma's voice rose. She said I was being dramatic. She said I should thank her for saving me from a bad marriage. She said she and Michael were meant to be together, and I should just get over it. The crowd erupted. People were shouting things like, "How could she?" and "That's disgusting." Michael's father stood up, his face red with fury, and started walking toward Michael. 2 of Michael's groomsmen had to hold him back. "Michael, how could you?" Michael's mother sobbed. How could you do this to Emma? To your family? To yourself? Michael tried to speak. I didn't mean for it to happen. You just what? Emma interrupted. You just accidentally fell into bed with my mother? Multiple times? For 3 months? While planning our wedding? Michael's face crumbled. For the first time since Emma had known him, he looked genuinely ashamed. I'm sorry, he whispered. Emma, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, Emma said. Sorry, don't give me back the last 6 months. Sorry doesn't undo the betrayal. Sorry is just a word that means nothing now. The gifts. Emma took a deep breath. Now, I want to show you all something. Jessica, can you bring me the box? Jessica walked over to a small table at the side of the garden and picked up a large box that had been hidden under a cloth. She carried it to Emma and set it down on the ground. For the past 3 months, Emma said, while Michael and my mother were having their affair, I was collecting evidence. Not because I knew what was happening. I was completely blind to it. But because I'm a teacher, I like to document things. I like to keep memories. She opened the box and started pulling things out. First, she held up her phone. This phone has text messages between Michael and my mother. Hundreds of them. Let me read you a few. Emma scrolled through her phone. Here's one from Michael to my mother 2 weeks ago. Can't wait to see you tonight. Emma is working late, so we have the whole evening. I'll bring champagne. Michael's face went even paler. People in the crowd started talking louder, their voices angry. Here's another one, Emma continued. From my mother to Michael. Emma just called me to tell me how excited she is about the wedding. She has no idea about us. She's so naive. And then Michael replied, she is naive. That's what makes this so easy. Emma's voice broke on that last sentence. Those words had hurt more than anything else. Michael had thought she was stupid. He'd thought her trust was a joke. Emma pulled more things from the box. I also have photos. My mother sent Michael photos of herself. Inappropriate photos. I won't show them to you all because I have more respect for everyone here than they had for me. But I have them. I've saved everything. She pulled out printed receipts. I have credit card receipts showing that Michael bought my mother expensive jewelry, flowers, and dinners at fancy restaurants. All while telling me we needed to save money for the wedding. All while I was eating cheap pasta at home and walking to work to save bus fare. Emma's hands were shaking now, but she kept going. She pulled out a small notebook. I also have this. This is my mother's diary. I found it in her purse last week when she asked me to get her car keys. I wasn't snooping. It fell out when I was looking for the keys. I read it and it's all in here. Every detail of their affair. Every lie they told me. Every time they laughed at how easy it was to fool me. Patricia stood up again, her face twisted with anger. You had no right to read my private diary. And you had no right to sleep with my fiancé. Emma shouted back. But here we are, Mother. Here we are in front of everyone. And the truth is finally coming out. Michael's parents. Michael's father broke free from the groomsmen and walked straight up to Michael. For a moment, Emma thought he was going to hit him. Instead, he just looked at his son with such disappointment that it was almost worse than a punch would have been. Son, Michael's father said quietly, I raised you better than this. Your mother and I taught you about honor, respect, and treating people right. How did you become this person? How did you become someone who could do something so horrible? Michael's mother joined her husband. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes that were now red from crying. Michael, we're ashamed of you. Truly ashamed. That poor girl. She looked at Emma. She trusted you. She loved you. And you destroyed her. For what? For an affair with her mother. Michael started crying then. Big, ugly tears running down his face. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just got caught up in it. Patricia was so. Don't you dare blame my daughter. Patricia shouted from her seat. This was a mutual decision. We fell in love. We couldn't help ourselves. Michael's mother whipped around to face Patricia. Love? You call this love? This isn't love. This is selfishness. This is cruelty. This is two horrible people hurting someone good and innocent. How dare you call me horrible? Patricia stood up, her voice shrill. You don't know me. You don't know what my life has been like. I've been alone for 10 years since my divorce. 10 years of coming home to an empty house. 10 years of watching other people be happy while I had nothing. When Michael and I connected, it was real. It was powerful. Emma is young. She'll find someone else. But Michael and I are meant to be together. The crowd erupted again. People were yelling at Patricia, calling her names, telling her she was a terrible mother. Some of Emma's friends from work were crying. Her cousin was shouting, "You monster!" at the top of her lungs. Emma just stood there, watching it all unfold. This was what she'd wanted, for everyone to see the truth. But it hurt more than she'd expected. Hearing her mother defend the affair, hearing her say that Emma would find someone else like her heartbreaking was no big deal. It was almost too much to bear. The real reason. Pastor James walked over to Emma and spoke quietly. Emma, dear, I think perhaps we should end this now. You've made your point. Let's let everyone go home. Not yet, Emma said. There's one more thing everyone needs to know. She reached into the box one last time and pulled out a document. This, she said, holding it up, is a life insurance policy. Michael took it out on me 3 weeks ago. $2 million. He's the sole beneficiary. A chill went through the crowd. People stopped yelling and just stared. At first, I didn't think anything of it, Emma said. Michael told me it was responsible to have life insurance, especially with us getting married and maybe having kids someday. But last night, after I caught them together, I went home and really looked at this policy. And you know what I found? It has a special clause. If I die within the first year of marriage, Michael gets double the payout. For $1 million. Emma looked at Michael, whose face had gone from pale to green. So I started wondering, were you planning to marry me and then kill me, Michael? Was that the plan? Marry me, wait a few months, have some kind of accident happen to me, and then collect $4 million to start a new life with my mother. No, Michael shouted. No, Emma, that's insane. I would never. Then why the insurance policy? Emma demanded. Why the rush to get married? Why didn't you just break up with me 3 months ago when you started sleeping with my mother? Why go through with this wedding? Michael opened his mouth, but no words came out. He looked like a man trapped in a corner with no way out. Emma turned to the crowd. I thought about this all night, and I realized Michael doesn't actually love my mother. He just used her to get close to me, to get me to trust him enough to marry him quickly, so he could cash in on this insurance policy. Patricia's face changed. The defiant look disappeared, replaced by confusion and then horrified realization. Michael, she said slowly, is that true? Did you use me? Michael looked between Emma and Patricia, panic in his eyes. No, Patricia, I love you. You know I love you. But you took out a life insurance policy on Emma, Patricia said, her voice rising. You were planning to marry her even though you were with me. Why would you do that unless... She stopped, unable to finish the sentence. Emma finished it for her. Unless he was planning to kill me for the money. And then, I'm guessing, he would have dumped you, Mother. Because let's be honest, you're 48 years old. Michael is 28. How long did you really think this was going to last? You were just a convenient way for him to hurt me, to make me vulnerable so his plan would work. The breakdown. Patricia sank back into her seat, her hand over her mouth. For the first time, she looked genuinely horrified by what she'd done. Not because she'd hurt Emma, but because she realized she'd been used. Michael, Patricia whispered, tell me Emma's wrong. Tell me you really love me. Michael said nothing. He just stood there, his suit wrinkled, his face sweaty, looking like a criminal who'd just been caught. Tell me, Patricia screamed. I liked you, Michael said weakly. You're beautiful and smart and... But you don't love me, Patricia said flatly. Michael looked at the ground. I love money more than anything, he said quietly. I wanted Emma's insurance money. For $1 million. I could quit my job, travel the world, live the life I always dreamed of. You were just part of the plan. A way to make Emma trust me faster, marry me faster. The garden was completely silent. 300 people stared at Michael in shock and disgust. Emma felt strangely calm. She'd suspected this was the truth, but hearing Michael admit it out loud was somehow satisfying. All the pain, all the betrayal, at least now everyone knew what kind of person he really was. Patricia started laughing. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone whose world had just completely fallen apart. I destroyed my relationship with my daughter for you, she said, laughing and crying at the same time. I betrayed the person who loved me most in the world. For you. For a man who was just using me to commit murder. I wasn't going to actually kill her, Michael said, but his voice had no conviction. Everyone could tell he was lying. Michael's father walked up to his son and slapped him across the face. The sound echoed across the silent garden. You're no son of mine, he said coldly. Not anymore. I'm calling the police. You tried to commit insurance fraud at minimum. Probably conspiracy to commit murder. You're going to jail, Michael. And your mother and I will testify against you. Michael's mother nodded, crying. We'll help however we can, Emma. I'm so sorry. So sorry. The apology that came too late. Patricia stood up and walked toward Emma. She looked smaller somehow, broken. Her face was streaked with tears, her makeup running, her elegant dress wrinkled. Emma, she said, her voice cracking. I didn't know. About the insurance policy. About his plan. I thought he really loved me. I thought we were going to be together. Does that make it better? Emma asked. Does not knowing about the murder plan make it okay that you slept with my fiancé for 3 months? Patricia looked down at her hands. No, she whispered. Nothing makes this okay. I was a terrible mother. I was selfish and cruel and stupid. I destroyed my baby girl's life because I was lonely and desperate and weak. For just a moment, Emma felt sorry for her mother. Patricia looked so broken, so lost. But then Emma remembered the hotel room. Remembered her mother's face when Emma walked in. Not shocked or guilty, but annoyed. Remembered Patricia saying, "You're being dramatic, and you'll thank me someday." I can't forgive you, Emma said quietly. Maybe someday, years from now, I'll be able to think about this without wanting to cry. But right now, I can't even look at you without feeling sick. You're my mother. You were supposed to protect me. Instead, you helped a man plan to murder me. I didn't know, Patricia cried. But you should have suspected, Emma said. You work in real estate with Michael. You know he's always chasing money, always looking for shortcuts, always wanting the easy way to wealth. When a 28-year-old man starts an affair with his fiancée's 48-year-old mother 3 months before his wedding, that's not love. That's suspicious. But you didn't care because you were lonely and he made you feel young again. Patricia had no response to that. She just stood there, crying. The police arrive. In the distance, Emma heard sirens. Someone in the crowd must have called 911 during her speech. Within minutes, 2 police cars pulled up to the garden venue. 4 officers got out and walked toward the altar. Someone reported a disturbance, the first officer said. He was a tall man with gray hair and a kind face. What's going on here? Emma held up the insurance policy document. This man, she pointed at Michael, took out a $4 million life insurance policy on me. He was planning to marry me today and then, I believe, kill me within the first year so he could collect double the payout. The officer's face became serious. That's a very serious accusation, ma'am. I have evidence, Emma said. Text messages showing he's been having an affair with my mother for 3 months. Documents showing he's deeply in debt, which I found out only yesterday when I really started digging into his finances. Credit card statements showing he spent over $50,000 in the past 3 months on things for my mother. Money he doesn't have. Money he would need that insurance payout to pay back. Jessica handed the police the box of evidence Emma had collected. The officers started looking through everything, the text messages, the receipts, the insurance policy, the financial documents Emma had printed out in the middle of the night. Mr. Thompson, the officer said, we're going to need you to come with us for questioning. I didn't do anything illegal, Michael said, his voice panicked. Taking out insurance on your fiancé isn't a crime. No, the officer agreed. But insurance fraud is. And if you were planning to harm Miss Carter to collect that insurance money, that's conspiracy to commit murder. We need to investigate this thoroughly. 2 officers grabbed Michael's arms. He didn't resist, but he looked at Emma with hatred in his eyes. You ruined everything, he hissed. We could have been rich. We could have had a perfect life. We could have had a perfect life if you'd actually loved me, Emma said quietly. But you loved money more, and now you're going to prison. The officers led Michael away in handcuffs. His parents followed, his mother still crying, his father walking with his head down in shame. The confrontation with Patricia. After Michael was taken away, another officer approached Patricia. Ma'am, we're going to need to question you too. You were involved in a relationship with Mr. Thompson while he was planning to commit insurance fraud. You might be considered an accessory. Patricia's eyes went wide. But I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the insurance policy. That's for the investigation to determine, the officer said. Please come with us. As Patricia was led away, she looked back at Emma one last time. Emma, please, you have to believe me. I never would have hurt you. Not like that. I was stupid and selfish, but I never wanted you dead. Emma said nothing. She just watched her mother being put in the back of the police car, and she felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction, just emptiness. The aftermath. After the police left, the garden was still full of 300 stunned guests. No one had left. They all just stood there, staring at Emma, waiting to see what would happen next. Pastor James walked up to Emma and put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Emma, dear, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen. You could have hidden this. You could have just canceled the wedding and run away. But you stood here and told the truth. And now a dangerous man is in police custody. Emma nodded. She felt exhausted, so tired she could barely stand. Jessica came over and hugged her. You did it, she whispered. You actually did it. You exposed them both. Yeah, Emma said weakly. I did. Michael's mother approached, her face red and swollen from crying. Emma, I know this doesn't help, but I want you to know. My husband and I will testify against Michael in court. We'll tell them everything we know. He will pay for what he tried to do to you. Thank you, Emma said, and she meant it. At least Michael's parents were good people. The question everyone was thinking. One of Emma's friends from work, a woman named Margaret, raised her hand like they were in a classroom. Emma, what are you going to do now? I mean, your wedding is canceled. Your mother is being questioned by police. Your fiancé is probably going to jail. What's next for you? Emma looked around at all the people staring at her. She looked at the beautiful garden with its white flowers and elegant decorations. She looked at the gifts piled on a table in the corner. 300 gifts from people who'd thought they were celebrating a wedding. And then Emma smiled. Not a happy smile, but a determined one. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, she said, her voice carrying across the garden. First, I'm going to return all these gifts to everyone who bought them. Second, I'm going to eat this wedding cake because I paid for it and it looks delicious. Third, I'm going to take a very long vacation far away from this city. And fourth, she paused, looking at each face in the crowd. Fourth, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to trust again someday. I'm going to love again someday. Because Michael and my mother might have broken my heart, but they didn't break me. I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I'm going to be okay. The crowd erupted in applause. People were cheering and crying and clapping. Emma's friends rushed forward to hug her. Even people she barely knew were telling her how brave she was, how strong she was, how proud they were of her. For the first time since walking into that hotel room last night, Emma felt something other than pain. She felt proud of herself. She'd done something terrifying, but she'd survived it. The unexpected visitor. The celebration was interrupted by the sound of a car door slamming. Everyone turned to see a woman walking toward them. She was in her mid-50s, with silver hair and a strong, commanding presence. She walked straight up to Emma. Emma Carter? The woman said. Yes, Emma replied, confused. Who are you? The woman held out her hand. My name is Catherine Morrison. I'm a private investigator. Your fiancé's former business partner hired me 3 days ago to investigate Michael Thompson. He suspected Michael was up to something illegal. Emma's heart started beating faster. What did you find? Catherine pulled out a folder from her bag. I found out that Michael Thompson isn't who he says he is. His real name is Michael Rodriguez. He's wanted in 2 other states for insurance fraud. He's done this before. Gotten engaged to wealthy women, taken out life insurance policies on them, and then they died in convenient accidents. The garden went completely silent. Emma felt like she couldn't breathe. How many? Emma whispered. How many women? 3, Catherine said quietly. 3 women in the past 5 years. All ruled accidents. A car crash, a fall downstairs, a drowning. But after I started investigating, I found evidence that suggests Michael was responsible for all 3 deaths. Emma's legs gave out. Jessica caught her before she fell, helping her sit down on the ground. You mean, he's killed 3 women already? Emma asked, her voice shaking. And I was going to be the 4th? Catherine nodded grimly. If you'd married him today, I believe you would have been dead within 6 months. This man is a serial killer, Emma. And you just helped us catch him. Emma couldn't speak. She just sat there on the ground in her beautiful white wedding dress, realizing that she'd been hours away from marrying a murderer. The police need your full statement, Catherine continued, and they need all the evidence you collected. With what you have, plus what I've gathered, Michael is going to prison for the rest of his life. The final twist. As Catherine was talking, Emma's phone buzzed. She pulled it out and saw she had a new email. The sender's address was blocked, but the subject line made her blood run cold. You think you won, but this isn't over. With shaking hands, Emma opened the email. It contained 1 sentence and a photo. Your mother knew everything. Here's the proof. The attached photo showed Patricia and Michael at a coffee shop, taken from across the street. They were looking at a laptop together. And on the laptop screen, clearly visible in the photo, was the insurance policy document with Emma's name on it. The date stamp on the photo was 6 weeks ago, a full month before Michael took out the insurance policy officially. Emma showed the photo to Catherine and Jessica. They both stared at it in shock. She knew, Emma whispered. My mother knew the whole time that Michael was planning to kill me. This wasn't just an affair. She was helping him. Catherine took the phone and looked at the email address. Who sent this? I don't know, Emma said. But then she had a terrible thought. Unless there's someone else involved. Someone who wants us to know the truth about Patricia. But why? Why would someone send this now? Jessica grabbed Emma's arm. Emma, look. She pointed to the corner of the photo, where the window of the coffee shop reflected something in the background. Emma zoomed in on the image. There, barely visible in the reflection, was another person. Someone who'd been watching Patricia and Michael that day. Someone who'd taken this photo. And Emma recognized them. It was Michael's business partner. The same man who'd hired Catherine to investigate Michael. He knew, Emma said slowly, realization dawning. Michael's business partner knew what Michael was planning, and he's been collecting evidence against him. But why wait until now to reveal it? Why not go to the police weeks ago? Catherine's face went pale. Oh no, she whispered. Because he wasn't trying to save you. He was trying to make sure Michael went through with it. Because if Michael killed you and got caught, the business partner would get all of Michael's assets. They're partners, they share everything. If Michael goes to prison for murder, everything defaults to the partner. So he was waiting for me to die? Emma asked, horrified. Yes, Catherine said grimly. And when you exposed Michael today instead of marrying him, you ruined his plan. So now he's trying to make sure Michael goes to prison by providing evidence of Patricia's involvement. That way, at least he'll get Michael's share of the business. Emma looked around at the 300 guests, at the beautiful garden, at the remains of what should have been her wedding day. She realized that she hadn't just escaped one killer. She'd been surrounded by people planning her death, her fiancé, her mother, and Michael's business partner who'd been willing to let her die just to get rich. How many people wanted me dead? Emma asked quietly. No one had an answer. What will Emma do next? Will her mother go to prison? What will happen to Michael's business partner? And can Emma ever trust anyone again after this betrayal? Subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Drop a comment telling us, do you think Patricia deserves to go to prison? Should Emma forgive her mother? What would you do if you discovered this many people were planning to kill you? Chapter 3 is coming, and the truth gets even darker. Emma sat in the back of Catherine Morrison's car, still wearing her wedding dress. The beautiful white lace felt heavy now, like chains instead of silk. Through the window, she watched the police load Patricia into one car and drive away. Michael had already been taken to the station an hour ago. Jessica sat beside Emma, holding her hand. You need to breathe, Jessica said gently. You're turning pale. Emma realized she'd been holding her breath. She let it out in a big whoosh and started crying again. Not gentle tears this time. Big, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. 3 women, Emma said between sobs. He killed 3 women before me, and I almost married him. If I hadn't found them that night, I'd be dead in 6 months. Catherine turned around from the front seat. Her face was kind but serious. Emma, I know this is overwhelming, but right now I need you to be strong for just a little bit longer. We need your full statement. We need every piece of evidence you have. With everything you collected, plus what I've found, we can put Michael away forever. But we need to act fast. What about my mother? Emma asked, wiping her eyes. That email showed she knew about the insurance policy. She knew Michael was planning to kill me, and she went along with it anyway. Catherine's face darkened. If that photo is real and we'll need to verify it, then your mother is facing serious charges. Not just for the affair, but for being an accomplice to attempted murder. She could go to prison for 20 years. Emma felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of her wanted her mother to suffer, to pay for the betrayal. But another part, the little girl who still remembered Patricia tucking her into bed and singing lullabies, that part felt sad. Devastated even. And Michael's business partner? Emma asked. The one who sent that email? What happened to him? That's complicated, Catherine said. He didn't actively try to harm you. He just didn't stop it. Legally, that's a gray area. We'll need to prove he knew about the murder plan ahead of time and deliberately let it continue. That's hard to do. But possible? Emma asked. Possible, Catherine agreed. Especially with the email he just sent you. That proves he was watching them, collecting evidence. The question is, why wait until now? Why not come forward earlier and save you? Emma already knew the answer. Because he wanted Michael to go through with it. He wanted me dead so Michael would go to prison and he'd get everything. Catherine nodded grimly. That's what I think too. And if we can prove it, he goes to prison alongside Michael and your mother. At the police station. An hour later, Emma sat in a small room at the police station. The room had gray walls, a metal table, and uncomfortable chairs. A detective named Sarah Williams sat across from her, recording everything on a small device. Let's start from the beginning, Detective Williams said. She was a woman in her 40s with short brown hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. When did you first meet Michael Thompson? Or Michael Rodriguez, as we now know his real name is? Emma told the whole story. Meeting at the coffee shop 6 months ago. The romance. The proposal. Planning the wedding. Her mother got involved. The strange signs she'd ignored. Michael's secretive phone calls. Patricia's new wardrobe. The times they'd shared private jokes that excluded Emma. I was so stupid, Emma said, her voice breaking. All the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. You weren't stupid, Detective Williams said firmly. You were trusting. There's a difference. Michael Rodriguez is a professional con artist and murderer. He's very good at what he does. You're not the first person he fooled, and if we hadn't caught him, you wouldn't have been the last. Emma pulled out her phone and showed Detective Williams everything she'd collected. The text messages between Michael and Patricia. The receipts for expensive gifts Michael had bought Patricia while telling Emma they needed to save money. The diary entries where Patricia wrote about the affair and laughed at how naive Emma was. And then Emma showed her the most damning piece of evidence. The photo someone had sent showing Patricia and Michael looking at the insurance policy on a laptop, proving Patricia knew about the murder plan. Detective Williams's eyes widened. This is incredible evidence. Who sent you this photo? I don't know for sure, Emma said. But I think it was Michael's business partner. His name is Robertson. He and Michael co-own a real estate company together. Why would he send this to you? Because he wanted Michael to get caught, Emma explained. But only after I was dead. That way he'd inherit Michael's half of the business. When I exposed Michael at the wedding instead of marrying him, I ruined his plan. So now he's trying to make sure Michael still goes to prison by proving Patricia was involved too. Detective Williams wrote everything down in her notebook. We'll bring Robertson in for questioning. If what you're saying is true, he's guilty of criminal conspiracy at minimum. What about my mother? Emma asked quietly. What's going to happen to her? Detective Williams's face softened. That depends on what she tells us. If she cooperates, admits what she knew, and testifies against Michael, she might get a reduced sentence. If she denies everything and forces us to prove it in court, she shrugged. 20 years, maybe more. Emma felt sick. Her mother was in prison for 20 years. It was what Patricia deserved for betraying her own daughter. But it still hurts. Patricia's confession. In another room down the hall, Patricia sat across from a different detective. She looked terrible. Her makeup was completely gone. Her elegant blue dress was wrinkled, and her eyes were red from crying. Mrs. Carter, the detective said, we have evidence that you knew about Michael Rodriguez's plan to murder your daughter for insurance money. We have a photograph showing you and Michael looking at the insurance policy together, 6 weeks before he officially filed it. That's a conspiracy to commit murder. Do you understand how serious this is? Patricia's hands shook. I want a lawyer. You can have a lawyer, the detective said. But I'm going to tell you something first. Michael Rodriguez has killed 3 other women in the past 5 years. 3 innocent women who trusted him just like your daughter did. He's a serial killer, Mrs. Carter. And right now, we can prove you helped him plan his 4th murder. Your own daughter. Patricia started crying again. I didn't know, she sobbed. I swear I didn't know he'd killed other women. But you knew about the insurance policy, the detective pressed. You knew he was planning to marry Emma and then kill her for the money. That photo proves it. Patricia put her head in her hands. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, she started talking. Michael approached me 4 months ago, Patricia said, her voice barely above a whisper. He came to my office. I'm a real estate agent, same as him. He said he was Emma's new boyfriend, and he wanted help finding an engagement ring. I thought it was sweet. She took a shaky breath and continued. We started talking. He was so charming, so attentive. He made me feel young again. Beautiful. Important. After my divorce 10 years ago, I'd been so lonely. And here was this handsome young man paying attention to me. When did the relationship become romantic? The detective asked. After about 2 weeks, Patricia admitted. He kissed me in my office after hours. I knew it was wrong. He was my daughter's boyfriend. But I told myself Emma would never find out. That it would just be a little fling and then it would end. But it didn't end, the detective said. No, Patricia whispered. Because Michael told me his plan. He said Emma was too simple, too boring. He said he needed someone sophisticated and mature. Someone like me. He said if we could just get Emma out of the picture, we could be together openly. We could get married and be happy. The detective leaned forward. And you believed him? Yes, Patricia said, fresh tears running down her face. I believed him because I wanted to, because I was lonely and stupid and selfish. He showed me the insurance policy and said it was just a safety net, in case something happened to Emma. I didn't realize he was planning to kill her. When did you realize the truth? The detective asked. Patricia was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that made the detective's blood run cold. 2 days ago, Emma called me so excited about the wedding. She told me she loved me, that she was so happy I was going to be there. And I realized what we were planning to do. Michael wasn't just going to get Emma out of the picture somehow. He was going to murder my baby girl. My only child. Did you try to stop it? The detective asked. I called Michael that night, Patricia said. I told him we needed to call it off, that I couldn't go through with it, that Emma was my daughter and I loved her, even if I'd forgotten that for a while. What did Michael say? Patricia's voice became even quieter. He said if I didn't go along with the plan, he'd tell Emma about the affair anyway. He'd ruin my relationship with her and I'd get nothing. No Michael, no daughter, nothing. But if I stayed quiet and let the plan happen, we'd be together afterward and I'd have a new life. A better life. So you stayed quiet, the detective said, disgusted in his voice. I stayed quiet, Patricia admitted, until last night, when Emma walked in on us. And then everything fell apart. And I realized I'd become a monster. I'd betrayed my own daughter for a man who was just using me to commit murder. The business partner's secret. While Emma and Patricia were giving their statements, 2 other detectives were at the office of Chun and Rodriguez Real Estate, questioning Robert Chin. Robert was a small man with glasses and thinning hair. He looked nervous, sweating even though the office was cold. Mr. Chun, Detective Martinez said, we have evidence that you sent an email to Emma Carter today. An email containing a photograph that proves Patricia Carter knew about the insurance policy on Emma's life. Where did you get that photograph? Robert's hands shook. I don't know what you're talking about. Detective Martinez pulled out a printout of the email and slapped it on the desk. Don't lie to us. We traced the email back to a computer in this building. Your computer specifically. You sent this photo to Emma. Why? Robert took off his glasses and cleaned them, stalling for time. Finally, he sighed. Because Michael was going to ruin everything, Robert said bitterly. This business, I built it from nothing. 20 years of hard work. Then Michael joined me 5 years ago, and at first he was great. Smart, charming, good with clients. But then I found out what he was doing. Which was? Detective Martinez prompted. Scamming wealthy women, Robert said. He'd find single women with money, romance them, take out life insurance policies, and then they'd die in convenient accidents. I didn't have proof at first, just suspicions. But I started watching him, following him, taking pictures. Why didn't you go to the police? The detective asked. Robert looked ashamed. Because every time one of his targets died, our business made money. Michael would inherit their estates, and he'd invest that money in our company. I knew it was wrong, but I told myself I didn't have proof. Maybe I was imagining things. But you weren't imagining things, Detective Martinez said. No, Robert admitted. 3 months ago, I finally had enough evidence to prove what Michael was doing. But by then, he'd already started dating Emma Carter. And I realized, if I reported him before he married Emma, I'd get nothing. But if I let him marry her, kill her, and get caught afterward, I'd get his half of the business. Everything he'd stolen would become mine. The detective stared at Robert with disgust. So you were willing to let an innocent woman die just to get rich? I told myself she'd probably figure it out, Robert said weakly. That she seemed smart enough to catch on before it was too late. But as the wedding got closer, I realized she had no idea. So I sent anonymous tips to her friends, hoping someone would warn her. Did you send any tips to Emma herself? The detective asked. No, Robert said. I was afraid if I contacted her directly, Michael would find out and kill her immediately before the wedding. I thought if I waited until after they were married, Emma would be legally entitled to Michael's assets when she divorced him after finding out about the affair. She'd get something out of it at least. But she found out before the wedding, Detective Martinez said. Yes, Robert said, which ruined everything. Michael would go to prison, but without a marriage certificate, all his assets would go to his family, not to Emma. And without Emma dead, I couldn't prove the insurance fraud. So I sent that photo showing Patricia knew about the murder plan. At least then they'd both go to prison and justice would be served, even if I didn't get rich. Detective Martinez shook his head in disbelief. Mr. Robert Chen, you're under arrest for criminal conspiracy and accessory to attempted murder. You had information that could have saved Emma Carter's life, and you withheld it for profit. That makes you just as guilty as Michael Rodriguez. As the handcuffs clicked onto Robert's wrists, he started crying. I was trying to do the right thing in the end. I sent Emma the proof. You sent the proof only after your plan to profit from her death fell apart, Detective Martinez said coldly. That's not doing the right thing. That's covering your own back. The meeting. 2 hours later, Detective Williams brought Emma to a different room. This one had a window, and through it, Emma could see her mother sitting in the interrogation room next door. Your mother has confessed to everything, Detective Williams said gently. She admitted she knew about the insurance policy. She admitted Michael told her his plan to kill you. She admitted she stayed quiet because Michael threatened to expose the affair if she didn't. Emma stared through the window at her mother. Patricia looked small and broken, nothing like the confident woman who'd raised her. Does she want to see me? Emma asked. Yes, Detective Williams said. She's asking to apologize to you in person. But you don't have to agree. You don't owe her anything, Emma. Emma thought about it. Part of her never wanted to see Patricia again. But another part, the part that still remembered being a little girl who loved her mommy, that part needed closure. Okay, Emma said quietly. I'll see her, but I want Jessica with me. 5 minutes later, Emma and Jessica sat across from Patricia in the interrogation room. A guard stood by the door watching carefully. Patricia looked at Emma with red, swollen eyes. Baby, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Emma said nothing. She just stared at her mother, waiting. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, Patricia continued, her voice breaking. I know I'm the worst mother in the world. I betrayed you. I helped a man plan to murder you. All because I was lonely and desperate and stupid. You're right, Emma said coldly. You don't deserve forgiveness. You deserve to rot in prison for the rest of your life. Patricia flinched like Emma had slapped her. I know, and I will. The detective said I'm looking at 20 years, maybe more. But before they take me away, I need you to know something. What? Emma asked. When I was pregnant with you, Patricia said, your father left me. He said he didn't want to be a dad, that I was trapping him, that he never loved me. I almost got an abortion. But then I felt you kick for the first time, and I realized I could never go through with it. I decided to keep you and raise you alone. Tears streamed down Patricia's face. For the first 8 years of your life, you were my whole world. I loved you more than anything. I worked 2 jobs to give you a good life. I read you bedtime stories every night. I taught you to ride a bike and bake cookies and be kind to people. So what happened? Emma asked, her own voice breaking now. What happened to that mother who loved me? Where did she go? She got lost, Patricia whispered. After your grandmother died last year, I felt so alone. And when Michael showed me attention, it made me feel young and wanted. I forgot about everything else. I forgot about you. I forgot about being a good person. I became someone I don't even recognize. Patricia reached across the table, but Emma pulled her hand away. Please, Patricia begged. Please tell me that someday, maybe years from now, you might be able to forgive me. I know I don't deserve it, but I need to have hope. I need to believe that my daughter won't hate me forever. Emma looked at her mother for a long moment. Then she stood up. I don't hate you, Emma said quietly, but I don't love you either. Not anymore. You killed that love when you chose Michael over me, when you chose your loneliness over my life. So no, Mother, I will never forgive you. And when you're in prison, don't expect me to visit. Don't expect me to write. Don't expect anything from me ever again. Emma turned to leave, but Patricia called out desperately. Wait, there's something else you need to know. Something about Michael that even the police don't know yet. Emma stopped at the door. What? Patricia took a shaky breath. Michael has a storage unit. He made me rent it under my name so it couldn't be traced back to him. Inside are files on all the women he's killed. Photos, documents, everything. He kept trophies from each one. Detective Williams, who'd been listening from outside, rushed into the room. "Where is this storage unit?" Patricia gave them the address. "Unit 247 at Secure Store on 5th Avenue. The key is in my purse, which the police took when they arrested me." "Why are you telling us this now?" Emma asked suspiciously. "Because even though I'm a terrible mother," Patricia said, "I don't want Michael to hurt anyone else. And because maybe, just maybe, if I help put him away forever, you'll remember that I wasn't always a monster. That once upon a time, I was a good mom who loved you." The storage unit. An hour later, Emma stood outside Secure Store with Detective Williams, Jessica, Catherine Morrison, and a team of police officers. They had a warrant to search Unit 247. "You don't have to be here for this," Detective Williams said to Emma. "It might be disturbing." "I need to see it," Emma said. "I need to see proof that I'm not crazy, that Michael really is a monster." They used Patricia's key to open the storage unit. Inside, it was dark and musty. Someone flipped on a light. Emma gasped. The walls were covered with photos. Dozens of them. Different women, all smiling, all beautiful, all dead. Under each photo was a name and a date. Jennifer Morrison, car accident, 2020 Sarah Chun, drowning 2021 Rebecca Hayes, fall from stairs, 2023. And there, in the corner, already prepared, was a space for a fourth photo. Emma's engagement photo with Michael, with the date written underneath, Emma Carter House Fire 2025. "He already had it planned," Emma whispered, staring at her own smiling face on the wall. "He knew exactly how he was going to kill me. A house fire." Detective Williams looked at the date. "That's 6 months from now. Exactly when the double insurance payout would kick in." Catherine Morrison was examining a filing cabinet in the corner. She pulled out folders for each victim. "These files have everything. Insurance policies, love letters, even practice suicide notes Michael was planning to forge. This man documented his own crimes. Why would he keep all this?" Jessica asked, horrified. "Because he's a narcissist," Catherine explained. "He's proud of what he's done. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. These trophies prove he got away with murder 3 times. He probably looked at them often, congratulating himself." Emma felt dizzy. She sat down on a box, trying not to look at the photos of the dead women. Women who could have been her friends. Women who, like her, had trusted Michael and paid the ultimate price. "We have him," Detective Williams said, taking pictures of everything with her phone. "This storage unit, combined with your testimony and Patricia's confession, will put Michael away for life. Multiple life sentences, probably. He'll die in prison." "Good," Emma said firmly. "That's exactly what he deserves." The final revelation. As the police were cataloging evidence from the storage unit, Catherine's phone rang. She answered it, listened for a moment, then her face went pale. "When?" she asked urgently. "How long ago?" "Okay, we're on our way." She hung up and grabbed Emma's arm. "We need to get to the police station. Now." "Why?" Emma asked. "What happened?" "Michael just asked to speak with you," Catherine said. "He says he has information about your father." Emma froze. "My father? What does Michael know about my father? He left before I was born. My mother said he wanted nothing to do with us." "I don't know," Catherine admitted, "but Michael specifically asked for you. He said he'll only tell you, and only if you come alone." Detective Williams shook her head firmly. "Absolutely not. This could be a trap. Michael might try to hurt Emma or use her as leverage somehow." "I'll be right there with her," Catherine said. "Behind the glass, watching everything. At the first sign of danger, we pull her out." Emma stood up, her decision made. "I'm going. If Michael knows something about my father, I deserve to hear it. After everything else I've learned today, what's one more shock? Face to face with evil." 20 minutes later, Emma sat in an interrogation room across from Michael Rodriguez. He was wearing an orange prison jumpsuit now instead of his wedding suit. He had handcuffs on, and a guard stood in the corner watching him carefully. Michael looked at Emma and smiled. That same charming smile that had made her fall in love with him 6 months ago. Now it just made her skin crawl. "Hello, Emma," he said smoothly. "You look beautiful. That wedding dress really suits you." "I'm not here for small talk," Emma said coldly. "Detective Morrison said you have information about my father." "Straight to business," Michael said. "I always liked that about you. You're direct. Honest. Too honest, really. That's what made you such an easy target." Emma's hands clenched into fists under the table. "Tell me about my father, or I'm leaving." Michael leaned back in his chair. "Your mother told you he left before you were born, right? That he wanted nothing to do with you." "Yes." "She lied," Michael said simply. "Your father didn't leave. Your mother drove him away. She told him she'd gotten pregnant to trap him into marriage. She said if he didn't marry her, she'd take him to court for child support and ruin his life. So he ran, changed his name, started over somewhere else." Emma felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. "How do you know this?" "Because I found him," Michael said with a cruel smile. 3 months ago, when I was researching your family to plan your murder, I tracked down your father. His name is David Morrison. He lives in Seattle. He's a teacher, actually, just like you. He has a wife and 2 kids, your half-siblings, I suppose." Emma's vision went blurry. She had siblings, a father who was alive. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered. Michael's smile grew wider. "Because I wanted you to know that everyone who was supposed to love you has betrayed you, Emma. Your mother helped plan your murder. Your fiancé was a serial killer. And your father? He abandoned you before you were even born because your mother was too much trouble. You're all alone in this world. Nobody really loves you. Nobody ever has." Emma stood up so fast her chair fell backward. Tears were streaming down her face, but she wasn't crying from sadness. She was crying from anger. "You're wrong," she said, her voice shaking but strong. "I'm not alone. I have Jessica, who's been my best friend since kindergarten and would do anything for me. I have my students, who write me cards telling me I'm the best teacher they've ever had. I have neighbors who check on me. I have friends who showed up to my wedding today even though it fell apart. I have people who love me because I'm a good person, not because they're related to me or because they want something from me." She leaned across the table, looking Michael straight in the eyes. "And you? You're the one who's alone. Your parents are ashamed of you. Your business partner turned on you. Your mistress realized you were using her. You killed 3 innocent women and you're going to die in prison. Alone. Forgotten. With nobody to mourn you." Michael's smile disappeared. For the first time, he looked genuinely angry. "Get out," he hissed. "Gladly," Emma said. She walked to the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Michael? That storage unit Patricia told us about? We found it. We found photos of all your victims. We found your files. Your insurance scams. Everything. You're not clever. You're not smart. You're just a monster who finally got caught. And I'm glad I'm the one who caught you." She walked out, leaving Michael sitting there in his handcuffs, his face red with rage. The phone call. That night, Emma sat in Jessica's apartment, wrapped in a blanket, drinking tea. It was past midnight. She'd finally changed out of her wedding dress and was wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Emma almost didn't answer, but something made her pick it up. "Hello? Emma Carter?" A man's voice, nervous but kind. "Yes. Who is this?" "My name is David Morrison. I think I'm your father." Emma's hand started shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. "How did you get this number?" "The police called me tonight," David said. "They told me about what happened with Michael Rodriguez. They said he mentioned me, that he'd told you I abandoned you. He said you ran away because my mother tried to trap you into marriage," Emma said quietly. "That's not the whole truth," David said, his voice pained. "Emma, I was 19 years old when your mother got pregnant. I was scared. Patricia and I had only been dating for 2 months. When she told me she was pregnant, I panicked. I said some things I shouldn't have said. And then your mother told me to leave, that she didn't want a scared little boy raising her child. She said I should change my name and disappear so her baby would never have to know her father was a coward. So you did, Emma said. You left. Yes, David admitted. And I've regretted it every day for 25 years. I've thought about you constantly, wondered what you looked like, if you were happy, if you turned out okay. But I convinced myself you were better off without me. Emma didn't know what to say. She had 1,000 questions, but they all got stuck in her throat. I know I have no right to ask for anything, David continued. I wasn't there when you took your first steps or lost your first tooth or graduated high school. I'm a stranger to you. But Emma, if you'd be willing, I'd like to meet you. No pressure. No expectations. Just a chance to tell you I'm sorry. And to let you know that I've thought about you every single day since the day you were born. Emma looked at Jessica, who was listening with wide eyes. Jessica mouthed, It's your choice. I need time, Emma finally said. Today it's been the worst day of my life. I found out my fiancé was planning to kill me, my mother helped him, and now I find out my father is alive and wants to meet me. It's too much. I understand, David said gently. Take all the time you need. I've waited 25 years. I can wait longer. Just know that I'm here. Whenever you're ready. He gave Emma his phone number and address in Seattle. Then he said something that made Emma start crying again. I'm so proud of you, Emma. The police told me you're a teacher, that you're kind and smart and brave, that you exposed a serial killer and saved who knows how many future victims. You turned out to be an amazing person, and I had nothing to do with it. Your mother might have made terrible choices recently, but she raised you right for 18 years. She made you into someone special, and I'm proud to call you my daughter, even if I don't deserve to. After they hung up, Emma sat in silence for a long time. Are you okay? Jessica asked quietly. I don't know, Emma admitted. I don't know anything anymore. My whole life has turned upside down in 24 hours. Jessica hugged her. Well, whatever happens next, I'm here. We'll figure it out together. The unexpected visitor. There was a knock at Jessica's apartment door. They both froze. It was almost 1 a.m. Who would be visiting this late? Jessica looked through the peephole and gasped. She opened the door quickly. Standing there was a woman Emma had never seen before. She was maybe 30 years old, with brown hair and kind eyes. She looked nervous. I'm sorry to come so late, the woman said. But I heard what happened today. My name is Rachel Hayes. Rebecca Hayes was my older sister. Emma remembered that name. Rebecca Hayes. One of the women Michael had killed. Fall from stairs, 2023. I need to thank you, Rachel continued, tears in her eyes. For 3 years, I've been trying to prove that my sister didn't just fall down those stairs, that someone pushed her. But nobody believed me. The police said it was an accident. Her life insurance paid out to her fiancé, Michael Rodriguez. And then he disappeared with the money. Rachel pulled out a photo from her purse. It showed a beautiful woman with red hair, smiling at the camera. She looked so happy, so alive. My sister was the kindest person I knew, Rachel said. She was a nurse. She saved people's lives every day. And Michael killed her for money. But now, because of you, because you were brave enough to expose him at your own wedding, he's going to pay for what he did. Not just to you, but to Rebecca. And to the other women too. Emma didn't know what to say. She just hugged the stranger who'd lost her sister to the same monster Emma had almost married. Your sister didn't die in vain, Emma said quietly. Her death helped catch a killer. That has to mean something. It does, Rachel said. It means everything. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for being brave. After Rachel left, Emma sat back down on Jessica's couch. She looked at her phone, at the number David Morrison had given her. Then she looked at the clock. It was late, but she didn't care. She sent a text. This is Emma. I'm not ready to meet yet, but maybe we could talk on the phone sometimes? Start slow. The response came almost immediately. I would love that. Thank you for giving me a chance. Sleep well, Emma. I'll talk to you soon. Dad. Dad. The word looked strange on her phone screen, but also kind of nice. Emma turned off her phone and closed her eyes. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. Court dates, testimony, therapy probably, lots and lots of therapy. But tonight, for the first time since walking into that hotel room and seeing Michael with her mother, Emma felt something other than pain. She felt hope. But Emma's story isn't over yet, because the next morning, she receives a letter that changes everything. A letter from someone she never expected. Someone who holds the final piece of the puzzle. What will Chapter 4 reveal? Will Emma find true justice? And can she really learn to trust again after so much betrayal? Subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Comment below. Should Emma forgive her mother? Should she meet her father? What would you do? Chapter 4 is the explosive conclusion you won't want to miss. 1 week later, Emma woke up in Jessica's guest bedroom to sunlight streaming through the window. For the first time in a week, she didn't immediately remember the betrayal. For just 3 beautiful seconds, she was just a girl waking up on a normal morning. Then it all came rushing back. The hotel room, Michael and Patricia, the wedding that never happened, the storage unit full of dead women's photos. Her father called from Seattle. Emma sat up and checked her phone. She had 17 text messages from reporters asking for interviews. She deleted them all. Detective Williams had told her not to talk to the media until after the trial. The trial. It was scheduled to start in 2 months. Emma would have to testify against Michael, Patricia, and Robert Chin. She would have to tell her story in front of a courtroom full of strangers. The thought made her stomach hurt. There was a knock on the bedroom door. Emma? Are you awake? Jessica's voice. Yeah, come in. Jessica entered carrying a cup of coffee and a worried look. There's something downstairs. It was delivered this morning. A letter. It's from Michael. Emma's blood went cold. What? How? He's in jail. Prisoners can send letters, Jessica said. I didn't open it. I wanted to ask if you even want to read it. We can burn it if you want. Throw it away. You don't have to read anything that man sends you. Emma thought about it. Part of her never wanted to see Michael's handwriting again. But another part was curious. What could he possibly have to say? I'll read it, Emma decided. But you stay with me while I do. They went downstairs. On the kitchen table sat a plain white envelope with Emma's name written in Michael's perfect handwriting. Emma stared at it for a long moment before picking it up. You don't have to do this, Jessica reminded her. I know. Emma opened the envelope and pulled out 2 pieces of paper. The first was a letter. The second was a photograph. Emma started reading. Michael's letter. Dear Emma, I know you probably hate me. You should hate me. I'm a monster. I've known that for a long time, but I kept lying to myself about it. By now, the police have probably told you about the other women. Jennifer, Sarah, Rebecca. 3 innocent women who trusted me, just like you did. 3 women I murdered for money. I wasn't always like this. When I was younger, I was a good person. I helped people. I volunteered at animal shelters. I donated to charity. But then my mother got cancer, and the medical bills destroyed us. My family lost everything. My mother died anyway, in pain because we couldn't afford proper care. That's when I learned the most important lesson of my life. Money is all that matters. Without money, you have nothing. You can't save the people you love. You can't protect yourself. You're helpless. So I decided I would never be helpless again. I would do whatever it took to get rich. And I was good at it. The first woman, Jennifer, was easy. She fell in love with me in 2 weeks. We got married after 3 months. She died in a car accident 6 months later. I got $500,000. It was so easy that I did it again. And again. Each time I told myself it was the last time. That once I had enough money, I'd stop. But there's never enough money, Emma. That's the truth. Greed is like hunger, it never goes away. When I met you, I saw the perfect target. You were kind, trusting, and naive. You believed everything I told you. You never questioned me. You were so easy to manipulate that I almost felt bad about it. Almost. But then something strange happened. As I got to know you, I started to actually like you. You made me laugh. You were genuine in a way nobody else I'd ever met was. When you talked about your students, your eyes lit up. When you baked cookies for your neighbors, you didn't want anything in return. You were just good. I haven't met many good people in my life, Emma. Most people are selfish, greedy, and fake. But you were real. And for a brief moment, I thought maybe I could be real too. Maybe I could actually marry you and try to be a normal person. Then I remembered the insurance policy. $2 million. $4 million if you died in the first year. That's when I knew I couldn't change. The money was too good. Your life was worth less than $4 million to me. Your mother was never part of the original plan. I seduced her because I thought it would make you trust me more if your own mother approved of me. But Patricia surprised me. She was even more desperate and lonely than I thought. She fell in love with me fast and hard. She would have done anything I asked. So I tested her. I told her about the insurance policy. I made it sound like an accident waiting to happen, not murder. Emma's so clumsy, I said. What if she fell down the stairs? What if there was a house fire? These things happen all the time. Your mother didn't immediately agree to help me. She struggled with it for weeks. She cried. She said she loved you. But in the end, her loneliness won. She wanted me more than she wanted you to live. I know you think I'm telling you this to hurt you more. But that's not why I'm writing. I'm writing because you deserve to know something important. Your mother wasn't always like this. I destroyed her. I found her weak spots. Her loneliness, her insecurity, her fear of aging, and I exploited them. I broke her down piece by piece until she was willing to betray her own daughter. If I hadn't entered her life, she would still be the imperfect but loving mother you grew up with. I'm not trying to excuse what she did. She made her choices. But I want you to know that the person who betrayed you wasn't really your mother. It was a broken version of her that I created. I'm writing this letter because I'm going to plead guilty. I'm not going to make you testify at trial. I'm not going to force you to relive this nightmare in front of a courtroom. I'm going to confess to everything, the murders, the fraud, the conspiracy. I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison. And I deserve it. I know sorry doesn't mean anything. I know nothing I say can fix what I did. But I need you to know, of all the women I killed, you're the only one I actually regretted planning to murder. You're the only one who made me feel like maybe, in another life, I could have been a better person. In the envelope, you'll find a photograph. It's of a woman named Claire Morrison. She's Jennifer Morrison's mother. Jennifer was my first victim. Claire has been searching for proof that I killed her daughter for 5 years. I'm giving you this photo to give to her. It shows Jennifer and me the day before she died. On the back, I wrote a confession. Give this to Claire. Let her have closure. Let her know her daughter's death wasn't an accident. Let her know I'm going to rot in prison for what I did. You're a good person, Emma. Don't let what I did make you cold and bitter. Don't let this destroy your ability to trust people. Not everyone is like me. Not everyone will hurt you. You deserved better than me. You deserved a real love story, not a nightmare. Goodbye, Emma. I hope someday you find real happiness. Michael. The photograph. Emma's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the letter. Jessica grabbed her arm to steady her. What does it say? Jessica asked gently. He's pleading guilty, Emma whispered. So I don't have to testify. And he gave me evidence to help another victim's family. Emma picked up the photograph. It showed Michael with a beautiful woman with red hair, Jennifer Morrison, his first victim. They were at a restaurant, smiling at the camera. Jennifer looked so happy, so alive. She had no idea that the man beside her was planning her death. Emma flipped the photo over. On the back, in Michael's handwriting, "This is Jennifer Morrison. I married her on May 15, 2020. I killed her on November 18, 2020, by cutting her brake lines and causing her car to crash. I collected $500,000 from her life insurance. I murdered her for money." Michael Rodriguez, December 2025 inch. It was a full confession. Written proof that could finally give Jennifer's family justice. He's trying to make himself feel better, Jessica said angrily. By confessing now, by giving you this, he's trying to make himself look less evil. I know, Emma said, but it doesn't matter why he did it. What matters is that Jennifer's mother can finally know the truth. That's worth something. Emma looked at the letter again. One line stood out. Your mother wasn't always like this. I destroyed her. Was that true? Had Patricia really been a victim too, in her own way? Or was that just another manipulation? Michael trying to make Emma forgive her mother? Emma didn't know. And honestly, she was too tired to figure it out. The visit. 2 days later, Emma sat in the visiting room of the county jail. In front of her, separated by a thick glass window, sat her mother. Patricia looked terrible. She'd lost weight. Her hair was greasy and pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore an orange prison jumpsuit that was too big for her. She looked 10 years older than she had at the wedding. You came, Patricia said, picking up the phone on her side of the glass. Her voice was barely a whisper. I didn't think you would. Emma picked up her own phone. I almost didn't. Why did you? Because I need to understand, Emma said. I need to know if Michael was telling the truth in his letter. Did he manipulate you into this? Or did you choose to betray me? Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Both, she said quietly. He manipulated me, yes. He found all my weak spots and exploited them. He made me feel young and wanted and special. But Emma, I knew what I was doing. Maybe not at first. Maybe I really believed we'd just be together after you divorced him or something. But when he showed me that insurance policy and started talking about accidents, I knew, deep down, I knew what he meant. And you didn't stop him, Emma said. No, Patricia admitted. I didn't stop him. I told myself I didn't really believe he'd go through with it, that it was just talk. But I knew better. I knew, and I stayed quiet anyway. Emma felt tears running down her own cheeks. How could you? I'm your daughter. I came from your body. You raised me. How could you let someone plan to kill me? Because I was selfish, Patricia said, sobbing now. Because I was lonely and pathetic and I thought Michael would make me happy. Because I convinced myself that you'd be okay without me, that you had your friends and your job and you'd be fine. I chose my own happiness over your life, and I will never forgive myself for that. They sat in silence for a moment, both crying on opposite sides of the glass. The prosecutor offered me a deal, Patricia finally said. If I testify against Michael and Robert Chun, if I give them everything I know, they'll reduce my sentence from 20 years to 12. I'll be 60 years old when I get out. Are you taking the deal? Emma asked. I want to, Patricia said. Not because I want a shorter sentence, but because I want to help put Michael away forever. He can't hurt anyone else. He needs to pay for what he did to those other women. And to you. Emma nodded. Michael sent me a letter. He said he's pleading guilty, so there won't be a trial. Patricia looked surprised. Really? Why would he do that? I think. Emma paused, trying to find the right words. I think he's tired. Tired of lying. Tired of pretending. And maybe, in some twisted way, he actually does feel guilty about what he did to me. Not enough to stop himself before, but enough to spare me having to testify. That doesn't make him a good person, Patricia said. No, Emma agreed. It doesn't. He's still a monster. Just a monster with a tiny piece of conscience left. Patricia leaned forward, pressing her palm against the glass. Emma, baby, I know I don't deserve to ask this, but is there any chance, any tiny chance, that someday you might forgive me? Emma looked at her mother's hand on the glass. She remembered when she was little, how that same hand had braided her hair and wiped her tears and held her tight when she had nightmares. That mother had loved her. But this mother, the one sitting in prison, had betrayed her. I don't know, Emma said honestly. Maybe in 12 years, when you get out, I'll feel differently. Maybe by then, I'll have healed enough to forgive you. But right now, no, I can't forgive you right now. The wound is too fresh. The betrayal is too big. Patricia nodded, more tears falling. I understand. I don't deserve forgiveness. but I'll spend every day of the next 12 years trying to become someone who does. Emma stood up. Goodbye, Mom. Wait, Patricia called out. Before you go, I need to tell you something about your father. Something important. Emma sat back down slowly. What about him? David Morrison, your real father. He didn't abandon you because he was scared or because I drove him away. He left because I told him the baby wasn't his. I lied and said I'd been with someone else. I wanted him gone because he was poor and I thought I could find someone richer to be your father. Emma felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. What? I was 19 and stupid, Patricia said. I thought money was the most important thing. I thought if I could trap a rich man, we'd have a better life. So I pushed David away. I made him believe you weren't his child. He only found out the truth years later when a mutual friend told him I'd lied. Does he know you lied? Emma asked. I don't know, Patricia said. Maybe. But he never contacted you because I had legal papers drawn up saying he had no parental rights. I made sure he couldn't see you even if he wanted to. Emma stood up again, her whole body shaking with anger. So you've been lying to me my entire life. About everything. About my father. About who you were. About everything. I'm so sorry, Patricia sobbed. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, Emma said coldly. Sorry, don't give me back the father I could have known. Sorry, don't undo 25 years of lies. Emma hung up the phone and walked out of the visiting room without looking back. She heard her mother calling her name, begging her to wait, but Emma didn't stop. She was done with lies, done with betrayal, done with Patricia. The meeting. 1 month later, Emma stood outside a small house in Seattle. Rain was falling softly, making the city look gray and beautiful. She'd flown here on her winter break from teaching. She'd taken a taxi from the airport straight to this address. David Morrison's house. Her father's house. Emma had talked to David on the phone 6 times over the past month. Each conversation had been awkward at first, then gradually more comfortable. David was funny and kind. He told her about his job teaching history at a high school. He told her about his wife, Sarah, and their 2 kids, Emma's half-siblings, Nathan and Lily. They're excited to meet you, David had said on their last call. They've always wanted an older sister. Now Emma stood on his doorstep, her heart pounding. She changed her mind about coming 3 times on the plane ride. Part of her wanted to run away, but a bigger part needed to finally meet the father she'd never known. She rang the doorbell. The door opened and there he was, David Morrison. He was tall with graying brown hair and kind green eyes that looked exactly like Emma's. He was wearing jeans and a sweater that said, "World's Best Dad." "Emma," he said softly. Then, without asking permission, he pulled her into a hug. Emma started crying immediately. She didn't know why. Maybe because this was the father who'd been stolen from her. Maybe because his hug felt safe and warm. Maybe because after everything she'd been through, she finally had one parent who wasn't a monster. "I'm so glad you came," David whispered, tears in his own voice. So glad." He led her inside. The house was cozy and filled with photos. Family pictures, kids' drawings on the fridge, a cat sleeping on the couch. It looked like a real home, full of real love. A woman came out of the kitchen, Sarah, David's wife. She was beautiful with curly brown hair and a warm smile. "Emma, we've heard so much about you. Come in, come in. You must be freezing from the rain." 2 kids appeared, Nathan, age 12, and Lily, age 9. They stared at Emma with wide eyes. "Are you really our sister?" Lily asked. "I guess I am," Emma said, smiling through her tears. "Cool," Nathan said. "Do you like video games?" And just like that, the awkwardness broke. They all sat in the living room, and Emma told them about her life, the parts that weren't too traumatic. She told them about teaching 2nd graders, about her cat Whiskers, about her best friend Jessica. David told Emma about the years he'd spent trying to find her. "Your mother had lawyers send me letters saying I had no rights, that if I tried to contact you, she'd have me arrested for harassment. I was young and scared. I didn't know what to do, so I backed off. But I never stopped thinking about you. Never stopped wondering if you were okay. Mom, Patricia, told me yesterday that she lied to you, Emma said quietly. She told you I wasn't your daughter. That's why you left originally. David's face crumbled. I didn't find out the truth until you were 5 years old. By then, the legal papers were in place. I tried to fight them, but I didn't have money for a good lawyer. Patricia did. She won. I'm so sorry, Sarah added. David has carried that guilt for 20 years. He always wondered if he should have tried harder, fought longer. You couldn't have known, Emma said. Mom, Patricia, is very good at lying. I just found that out. They talked for hours. Sarah made dinner, spaghetti and garlic bread, and they all sat around the table like a real family. Nathan and Lily told Emma embarrassing stories about their dad. David told embarrassing stories about them. Everyone laughed. For the first time in a month, Emma felt something other than pain or anger or betrayal. She felt happy. After dinner, David walked Emma out to the porch. The rain had stopped, and the stars were coming out. I know this is all overwhelming, David said. I'm not trying to replace the years we lost. I know I can't do that, but I want to be part of your life now if you'll let me. As much or as little as you want. I'd like that, Emma said. I'd like to have a dad. Finally, David hugged her again. You'll always have a place here, Emma. Always. This is your home too, whenever you want it to be. 6 months later, Emma sat in the courtroom, watching as the judge delivered the final sentences. Michael Rodriguez stood in his orange prison jumpsuit, hands cuffed behind his back. He'd pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without possibility of parole. You are a danger to society, the judge said sternly. You preyed on innocent women, exploited their trust, and murdered them for financial gain. You will spend the rest of your natural life in prison, and may God have mercy on your soul. Michael showed no emotion. He just nodded and let the guards lead him away. As he passed Emma's seat in the courtroom, he looked at her one last time. His eyes seemed to say, I'm sorry, but Emma looked away. She was done with him. Patricia was sentenced next. Thanks to her cooperation and testimony, her sentence was reduced to 12 years. She would be eligible for parole in 8 years if she showed good behavior. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, Patricia stood up and looked directly at Emma. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, Patricia said, her voice shaking. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I want my daughter to know that I love her. I always have. I lost my way for a while, but I never stopped loving her. And I will spend every day of my sentence trying to become a better person. Someone my daughter can be proud of someday. Emma felt tears running down her face, but she didn't respond. She just sat there, silent. Robert Chin was sentenced last. He got 5 years for conspiracy and accessory to attempted murder. He'd helped the prosecution by providing evidence against Michael, which reduced his sentence. You had a chance to save an innocent life, the judge told him, and you chose money instead. That makes you nearly as guilty as the killer himself. After all the sentences were delivered, Emma left the courtroom with Jessica and Catherine Morrison, the private investigator who'd helped catch Michael. It's over, Catherine said. You can finally move forward with your life. Yeah, Emma said. Finally. 1 year later, Emma stood in her new apartment, hanging up pictures on the wall. She'd moved out of her old place, too many bad memories, and found a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment with big windows and lots of light. Whiskers, her cat, meowed from his favorite spot on the windowsill. Emma scratched his head. What do you think, buddy? Should I put this picture here or over there? The picture was from her visit to Seattle last month. It showed Emma with David, Sarah, Nathan, and Lily, all smiling at the camera. They looked like a real family. They were a real family. Emma's phone rang. It was David. Hey, Dad, Emma answered. She still got a little thrill from calling him that. Hey, honey, just checking in. How's the new apartment? It's perfect. I love it. Good. Listen, Sarah wanted me to ask, are you still coming for Thanksgiving? The kids won't stop talking about it. Wouldn't miss it, Emma said. I'm bringing my famous pumpkin pie. Your famous pumpkin pie? You've made it once. Once is enough to be famous, Emma laughed. After they hung up, Emma continued unpacking. She'd been in therapy for the past year, working through the trauma of everything that had happened. Some days were hard. Some days she still had nightmares about Michael. But most days were okay. And some days were actually good. Her therapist said that was progress. There was a knock at her door. Emma opened it to find Jessica standing there with wine and Chinese food. Surprise! Thought you could use some help unpacking and some celebration food for your new place. They sat on the floor, eating lo mein straight from the containers and laughing about old memories. Good ones, from before Michael. Have you heard from Patricia? Jessica asked carefully. Emma shook her head. No. She writes me letters every month, but I haven't read them. I'm not ready yet. Do you think you ever will be? Maybe, Emma said. My therapist says forgiveness is something we do for ourselves, not for the person who hurt us. That holding on to anger only hurts me in the end. But I'm not there yet. Maybe in a few years. Maybe never. I don't know. That's okay, Jessica said. You get to decide that. Nobody else. Emma's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from a number she didn't recognize. Hi Emma. This is Claire Morrison, Jennifer's mother. I wanted to thank you for giving me the photograph and Michael's confession. Because of you, I finally have justice for my daughter. You're a hero. Thank you. Emma showed the text to Jessica. See, Jessica said. Something good came from all of this. You helped that family get closure. Yeah, Emma said softly. I guess I did. Later that night, after Jessica left, Emma sat by her window looking out at the city lights. She thought about everything that had happened in the past year. The betrayal, the pain, the discovery of her father, the new family she'd found. She thought about the 3 women Michael had killed, Jennifer, Sarah, Rebecca, and how easily she could have been the 4th. How close she'd come to dying. But she didn't die. She survived. And not just survived. She was actually starting to thrive. Emma picked up her journal and started writing. Her therapist had suggested she keep a journal to process her feelings. Tonight, she wrote, a year ago, I thought my life was over. I walked into a hotel room and found my fiancé with my mother, and everything I believed about love and trust and family shattered. I wanted to die. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to stop existing because the pain was so big I couldn't breathe. But I didn't die. I didn't disappear. Instead, I stood up at my own almost wedding and told the truth. I exposed a killer. I saved who knows how many future victims. I helped families get justice. And I found a father I never knew I had. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. That naive, trusting girl is gone. I'm sadder now, yes. More cautious, yes. But I'm also stronger, braver, wiser. I know now that not everyone who says they love you actually means it. I know that family doesn't always mean safety. I know that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you most. But I also know that real love exists. My father came back into my life and showed me what a parent should be. Jessica has been by my side through everything. My students give me cards saying I'm their favorite teacher. There are good people in this world. I still have bad days. Days where I can't stop crying, or I have nightmares about Michael, or I wonder if I'll ever be able to trust someone enough to fall in love again. But I also have good days. Days where I laugh until my stomach hurts. Days where I feel proud of who I'm becoming. Days where I remember that I'm a survivor. Michael wanted to kill me for $4 million. He thought my life was worth less than money. He was wrong. My life is worth everything. And I'm going to live it fully, completely, joyfully. Not in spite of what happened to me, but because of it. I survived. And I'm going to make that survival count. Emma closed the journal and looked at the pictures on her wall. Her students were smiling at the camera. Jessica making a silly face. Her new family in Seattle. Her cat is sleeping peacefully. This was her life now. Not the life she'd planned, but the life she had. And it was enough. It was more than enough. It was beautiful. 5 years later, Emma Carter stood at the front of a conference room, speaking to a crowd of 50 women. "My name is Emma Carter," she said, her voice clear and strong. "5 years ago, I almost married a serial killer. Today, I'm here to tell you my story and teach you the warning signs." Emma had become an advocate for women in abusive relationships. She gave speeches at schools and community centers. She wrote a blog that thousands of people read every week. She'd even written a book called The Wedding That Never Was, One Woman's Survival Story. After her speech, women lined up to thank her, to tell her their own stories, to say she'd inspired them to leave bad relationships or report suspicious partners. "You saved my life," one woman said, crying. "I was engaged to a man who isolated me from my friends, controlled my money, and took out a huge life insurance policy on me. When I read your blog post about the warning signs, I realized I was in danger. I left him. 3 weeks later, police arrested him for assaulting his ex-girlfriend. If I'd stayed, that could have been me." Emma hugged the woman. "I'm so proud of you for leaving. You saved yourself. I just helped you see what was already there." After the event, Emma drove to her favorite coffee shop. She ordered her usual, a latte with 2 shots of espresso, and sat at a table by the window. "Is this seat taken?" a voice asked. Emma looked up to see a man about her age, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He wore a teacher's lanyard around his neck. "It's yours," Emma said, gesturing to the chair. "I heard your speech today," the man said, sitting down. "At the community center. It was incredible. My name's Daniel, by the way. Daniel Brooks. I'm a teacher at Lincoln Middle School." "Emma Carter," she said, shaking his hand. "And I teach at Lincoln Elementary. We're neighbors." They talked for an hour. About teaching, about their students, about their favorite books and movies. Daniel was funny and smart and didn't try too hard to impress her. He just talked to her like a normal person. "I should probably go," Daniel finally said. "But I was wondering, would you maybe want to have coffee again sometime? Like on purpose this time?" Emma felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. She hadn't dated anyone since Michael. She'd been too scared, too broken. But sitting here talking to Daniel, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. "Hope." "I'd like that," Emma said. "But I need to be honest with you. I've been through something traumatic. I have trust issues. I see a therapist. I have PTSD. I'm kind of a mess." "We're all kind of a mess," Daniel said gently. "That's okay. We can be mess together. No pressure, no expectations. Just coffee and conversation." Emma smiled. "Okay then. Yes. Let's have coffee again." As Daniel left, Emma sat for a moment, processing what had just happened. She'd agreed to go on a date with a man. After everything, she pulled out her phone and texted her therapist. "I think I'm ready to start dating again. Is that crazy?" Her therapist replied almost immediately, "That's not crazy. That's healing. I'm proud of you." Emma looked out the window at the sunny day. 5 years ago, she'd been standing at an altar exposing a killer. Today, she was sitting in a coffee shop, agreeing to a date with a kind man who made her laugh. Life was strange, beautiful and terrible and strange. But she was living it, really living it, and that was all that mattered. The end. Emma survived her betrayal and helped catch a serial killer. Patricia is serving her sentence and writing letters Emma may someday read. Michael is in prison for life. David is the father Emma always deserved. And Emma? Emma is thriving. Subscribe to this channel to support our growth. If the story moved you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling us, what was the most shocking part of Emma's story? Do you think she should eventually forgive Patricia? Have you ever experienced a betrayal like this? Remember, you are stronger than you think. You can survive anything. And on the other side of the pain, there's always hope. Thank you for watching until the end. We'll see you in the next story.